Hey y'all, welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. I intend to get in and get out really quickly today. That's always my intention, but it seems like I'll end up doing something else. Okay, I'm live. I'm gonna call you right back. Okay, okay. Hey y'all. I just wanted to come on in here and check in with you really quickly. Yesterday, I want to share with you a couple of things that I felt like it was time to share, was the season to share. Um, I want you to get on in the room, invite your friends on into the space as well, if you don't mind. Let me see, I can see some comments. Okay, there we go. Hey now. There we go. Okay, just getting some folks on in here so I can see what's up now. Hey, y'all. Dana. Oh, wow. Okay, I see you, Rebirth exclusive. I see Yaya. I see Layla. Okay. Listen, I want to talk to you all about spiritual business ownership. The title may seem a little off because we're talking about spiritual business ownership. If you're in Rebirth Woman, just put a RW so I can know who is in the tribe that's in here. Okay. Who's in the tribe that's in here? Just put RW for Rebirth Woman. You know, Facebook, well, let me start over because I have to do this now because I do have people coming from all walks of life. And so I'm Latanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, and Passion. And the banner tells you how to get in touch with me. You can always go to latanyataylor.com if you don't like to use social media platforms. You can always go to DM as well after you tune in. But I want to talk a little bit about spiritual business ownership for those of you who are creatives and those of you who have been opening your own business or running your own business, particularly entrepreneurs. So, or those who are entrepreneurs. Do we have any entrepreneurs in the house? Any entrepreneurs? Any entrepreneurs in here? And if you can share this out, I did not broadcast this big time, but you know, the Facebook algorithm has changed, which is usually a sign that it's time for us to change. And so I was going the other day to make a post to share about the upcoming session that I'm having, a 7-day boot camp. And I started writing to the tribe to just say, hey, listen, let me tell you why you've been hearing me refer to the business incubator. Let me tell you why you've heard me refer to business a lot, because I have been sitting. A lot of times it takes me a minute to formulate a course or to release something, you know. And of course, those of you who know me through Juicy, you know that Juicy is my baby. It is my signature program. Rites of Passage is my sweet spot. I definitely have been doing it for a long time, just like coaching, right? I have been a coach even when coaching was not popular, when people didn't really know what a coach was, unless you were in corporate America, where you tend to have a coach or executive coach, or you're in executive coaching programs. There was a time when coaching was not just self-appointed, where people could just self-appoint themselves as a coach. And then there was a time where, you know, then it started to catch on fire and all these specialties happen. Not a horrible thing. However, I'm just giving you some context. So a lot of people who entered into the coaching industry in particular, anybody a coach in here? If you're a coach, put coach in here. Anybody who's a coach. And now you have social workers who want to call themselves coaches. You have ministers and reverends who call themselves coaches, many of the same ones who would get in the pulpit and talk about coaching. downplay coaching. You see big time ministers and preachers now creating coaching programs because it's profitable for them, or it's not necessarily regulated. Not a bad thing. We're not necessarily here to talk about coaching specifically. However, what that brings up is, are those people who are led and drawn to spirit to do business because they're drawn to help people. You know, there's so many people who want to help people, and so they default to the idea of this thing called coaching, right? And so because of that, you know, it has made way for a lot of other people in industries such as the healing arts, you know, not just massage therapy or rape, but we're talking about Reiki. Now we see where people have monetized the yoni egg industry in a way that's much bigger. Particularly, I have to say, a lot of Westerners. When I first started studying Tantra with my one of my teachers, he said many Tantra teachers did not want to even bring on students from the US because they knew that once they exposed them to ancient arts and practices, it would become bastardized. It would become commercial. It would be watered down. It would be taken out of the context. So this is how you have things like red hot, juicy Tantra, things like that, and it makes it something that people tend to think is just sexual. Well, the same thing is true for coaching. People think that if you know how to sell, then you're a coach. So you have many people who have sales pages and that type of thing out here, but not necessarily the original I would say purpose of coaching, because you have all type of specialties. Just like when you go to the doctor, you have, you know, business coaches, and you have fitness coaches, and you have all types now, right? Again, not a bad thing, no shade or anything. But what that did was, again, give permission for creatives and people with soft skills to consider really monetizing their business. When we talk about the conversation of like old money, you know, when we talk about it from a spiritual point of view, what's your definition of money? How have you defined money? When you think of money, how do you define it? Do you know how money is defined in commerce? Even the definition of money is currently changing, right? Can we agree that even the definition of money is currently changing? So if your definition of money, of work, of business is still operating under the old money structure, a lot of times we're not even mentally ready to access new money. But then when we start to see the fields that are taught through ancient practices, that are taught now and becoming commercial, we have a situation where there are people who are wanting to win. There are people who are wanting to up level, and not only just want to. There was a time where you chose something like coaching or the healing arts or any of the creative arts. You chose it, or it chose you. Now we see once again it changing, where people are choosing the bag. That people are finding ways to have creative income streams. People are being forced, in other words. People are being forced, particularly after COVID, to reevaluate your life. But if you were comfortable getting a check every 2 weeks, if you're comfortable with your conversation of, well, I need a check, I got to be secure, there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, when a person has to declare that out loud, there's some consideration inside that this is an option for me, but I'm sticking to what I know. That's what that statement oftentimes says. And so now there's new money, and there's a lot of new money and ways to get new money, but it is disrespectful, and it's injuring, and it is harmful when you can't align with the new money game that's being played, but yet there's something about you that's old world. There's something about your calling that is connected to something that's ancient, that's sacred. There's something in you that that has never been done or has never been seen. You are called to something new or called to something different. Something about the way you're supposed to deliver it into the world is different, or you want it to be different. How many of you don't want to just do cookie cutter? Because what and let me tell you where this conversation was born and how many confirmations I've gotten to talk about it. Because the truth of the matter is, I have always coached business owners. Usually they people have started out with me through doing the personal work, just so that they can get in position for their bigger vision, for themselves, for their weight, for their health, or for their business. It just so happens that I come from a background of partnership development and working in different industries and getting industries to communicate and securing agreements, and a lot of what I do is very similar. Getting departments to do high level vision. And how it started for me is my anointing, my calling, your gifts will make room for you. It started to pull on me. Even though I'm good at one thing, my calling was bigger than what I'm good at. Out your amen. How many of you know what I'm saying? You're good at event. I can manage events. I'm good at, I like it. I get into a zone with it, but that's not necessarily my career. But I did have a career at one point. Those of you who know anything about the Citizen Summit in Washington, D.C., I was the program manager for the very first ever Citizen Summit through the mayor's office in Washington, D.C. And so for me, when I looked and started to do the evaluation of the patterns of what I was doing, because even what you're doing on someone else's job as the employee, most of the time when you have a calling, a unique gift inside of you, there's still a pattern, there's still an evidence that you're doing it there. I don't care what the title of it is. I don't care what your pay rate is. You probably are doing some of it there. Now, I'm not necessarily talking to people who don't want to be entrepreneurs, because I've had conversations with many people who say, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I remember when I used to sit down with people who were already on the other side, and I just couldn't fathom the leap. I couldn't fathom the letting go, the willful leap, the willful letting go. I couldn't fathom it. I prayed about it. I cried about it. I wrote affirmations about it. I did the work to even get myself to the place of saying yes to my vision, yes to the call on my life, yes to it being unique, and yes to me being a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Now, all of those bullets that I just hit are conversations within, but today, I'm sorry that it's chopping. My signal is tripping over here. Is it still wacky or wonky? I see it going up and down, but I'm going to just keep going. Is it still funny? Acting? I'm definitely paying enough money for the signal to be strong. I remember when I used to live in Costa Rica, I thought it was living in Costa Rica that was the issue, but I've had more issues with signals and living in the U.S., particularly in Georgia. Is it still coming in wonky? Don't worry, honey. Oh, it's not choppy. She says it's not choppy on YouTube. It's only on Facebook. What else is new? I start off saying that the algorithm is different. But listen, when you're a spiritual business owner, even paying attention to the algorithm is important. We pay attention to those things because sometimes they have meaning for how we need to adjust two things. So I'm sorry, Facebook, that you're having this issue, but please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me get back in flow and just keep going, no matter what the technical issue is, because what I'm saying is I have witnessed so much abuse and trauma in business coaching that people now are afraid to even believe that what they have is good enough, because a lot of times you think that you have to jump through a bunch of loops and hoops to duplicate what somebody else did before you were even clear about your offering, and it definitely can cause delay. But a delay is not a denial, according to James Cleveland. It's not a delay. Is not a denial. I thought I was delayed, and it turned out that I was on time because there were things that I needed to do and still do, even for the next level of your business, the next level of your product, the next level of your contribution, the next level of your business, the next season in your life may even demand another level. All of that matters in terms of what I call it spiritual business, getting our spiritual business together, because I run a spiritual business. And so in a spiritual business, we tend to not be as separated and just, and there's an attachment to it. So when you know, let me give you some signs when you know that you are out of order. Most of the time when you are simply trying to implement someone else's formula and it's not working. It's not working. It doesn't mean that you aren't. You could be doing everything right, but there may be something that you need to customize for you. I would say that I have definitely grown into a specialty of being able to trust myself and my uniqueness in business. My growth levels may be affected at times. But sometimes our business grows at the rate that we do. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to stay right in the pocket. And so what happened is I continued to see, and even through my investment in programs, just purely intellectual tracks, purely task management, purely cookie cutter type things. And I could go all the way back to Napoleon Hill, who had a mentor, Napoleon Hill, who had a model, Napoleon Hill, who was given assignments. And I'm talking about the author of Think and Grow Rich. And he had that, but there was something else that he had. He said that when he set his goals to meet, he would always say, I'm going to meet the goals of my mentor and surpass them. And so he took his assignments from his mentor, which was over a period of years. Now, see, that's old money talking. We're living in a world where people don't have patience to go through mentorship and assignments. They want what you have. And so they will compromise oftentimes their integrity, relationships, communication, or process in order to get what you have, thinking that there's going to be a shortcut. If I just pay to attend your workshop, let me see what you're doing. If I just pay to get into your funnel, let me see what you're doing. But you all think about that, how twisted that is. You work on jobs for 20 years, 15 years, 5 years, and you never think to study the systems of what they're doing so that you can create it for yourself. But when you see someone that looks like you and you think that well, I'm just as good as they are, or I'm gonna, then okay, you said, well, I'm gonna take what they're doing and duplicate it. Then at a certain point, you can only go so far with that. Now, I know that that people have seen other people be rewarded for intellectual theft and all of that. But it still does not last long. And so now, let me tell you the kind of conversations. I have just not been talking about it. I have been doing it. I've been in the work, studying it like a spiritual scientist that I am. And then there was a part of me that was saying, well, let me get my shit together before I even try to offer business coaching. I remember talking to Yanlin. I told her how things were shifting and what was showing up in the invitations that I've been having around mindset and entrepreneurship. And one of the things that she said, she said, oh, you're trained for that. You have that. So even hearing like all the time that I waited to even jump into it, I know I have to break out this up, and this will probably be a series. Hell, it may even be a podcast, because there's not a lot of people who are talking about this, but I'm surrounded by spiritual business owners. But sometimes it gets painful to hear the people who are making jewelry, to hear the people who are making clothes, to hear the people who are helping, just like teachers who are teaching your children, be paid and compensated for so little money when you're doing life-changing work with people, and you can't put a value on true soul surgery that is shifting you when you've been in therapy for years, talk therapy for years, and then you come and you go through a program, or you get a reading, or you get something, and they answer for you things that are are natural because it's connected to something bigger than just the intellectual. I've watched it. I've watched people turn around who've coached with me and implement and do those things when they got key pieces. Why? Because I had to do it for myself. And when I put the responsibility of people who I thought were winning, who didn't have an ounce of the information, but they had the sales strategy, they had the funnels, they had the money to invest in a team and a staff, they knew business, or they came from hustling. Let me tell you, my first lesson was in multi-level marketing when the person who was teaching me came from the streets. And so that person had a different value of money than I did. Some people have a value of money first, the bag first. And that comes from when you drug dealing, or you've been hanging around drug dealers, or you hanging around hustlers, or you have to come through the funnels of the streets, because the street has a funnel too. You hear me? The street has a funnel too. And so when you come from that, and then you're the person who were told to go to school, get a good job, you have an employee mindset. I had an employee mindset. And so there's a shift and a transition. And a lot of people do not specialize in that transition from an emotional wealthy place. It's from a go hard or go home, a grinding place, an evaluative place, and a performance-based place. Because just like we do church, we trade spaces. We say we're done with a thing, and all we do is just move over to a new space. The same way we do relationships. You in one relationship, but you haven't done the evaluation. You haven't done the autopsy. You haven't done the work to examine what happened that caused the death here, so that I can live free on what I'm really called to do. And I've watched it happen time and time again. And you know, it wasn't until I started to do higher level work to understand that when you are in high level sales, for instance, for a corporation, if you have been producing numbers, the first thing they do, they don't get rid of their main salesperson. They don't they don't do that. They do a plan. This is where executive coaching comes in. But when you talk about executive coaching, what do you think the executive coaching, the people who are on retainer for six figures are doing? They're not telling you how to build a business plan. They're not teaching you about that. That's you can get that cookie cutter anywhere. They're talking to you as a leader, as a manager, as a visionary, as in your gift set, in your strengths. Evaluation is done. And I was on the plane and I told you I would bring you to the confirmation. I had just trained and worked with the new entrepreneurs in Houston, and we had two groups. Shout out to Houston and the sisters who showed up for the live mastermind on site in terms of getting your mind right and your money right. New mind, new money mastermind live. If you want one in your city, we only need to have 12 or more. There was a disciples of 12, right? We only need to have 12 or more at a table, keeping it intimate, that type of thing. But anyway, let's keep going. Let me tell you what I'm saying to you. I'm on the plane after doing this work, and it got really deep. The work that I do gets intentionally deep, even for entrepreneurs and executives. That's why they hire me. And it can for you too. So let me tell you, I'm on the plane and this young lady next to me, bright and bubbly, just starts talking to me. Turns out we were in the same hotel. Turns out we were in the same, we were talking about the same thing in terms of entrepreneurship. Turns out. And then and what was she holding? Think and Grow Rich. And she was saying to me about how she was there to get trained because she's running more of a Christian business. So some of us see a model where it's all or nothing at all. We got to be all artsy. And then there's the conversation of artists don't make any money. And I'm talking about the spiritual arts. I'm talking about the creative arts. I'm talking about the dance arts. I'm talking about artism in media and industry in terms of actors and entertainers who are also having to come out of lack consciousness because they just are giving from their heart, pouring from their heart, because everybody wants you to come in contact with this art, this God energy that you want to be compensated for. And it's nothing wrong with that. And or we go to the church where we have to have Christian this and Christian that. Well, anyway, nothing wrong with that either, but that's the choice, which is still a blend of basically saying that my business is grounded by something more. But so is your money. If your business is grounded by something more, so is your money. And so therefore, wouldn't you need to shift and do the work sometimes? Because I asked you, what's your definition of money? What's your definition of success? Did anybody answer in the comments? I don't see anybody. I want to really ask you, what is your definition? What's your definition of money? What's your definition of success? What's your definition of work? What's your definition of winning? Because you could be operating off of somebody else's definition. Okay. If you want to talk to me more about that, look, not only can you shift everything here, but I basically, people say, how can I get in touch with you? Go to LaTonyaTaylor.com. How can I get in touch with you? Go to LaTonyaTaylor.com. When you want something, you got to get in position for it too. So then now she and I are talking. And I'm a reader, I'm a seer. I could see that the woman next to me already knew she was an entrepreneur. I could tell the way she got on the plane and started working. There's a certain way that you carry yourself when you are focused because you don't have time for conversation. So she wasn't even entertaining our conversation. But when we tapped her right in, tagged her, she had already heard everything that we were saying. And turns out she was also doing a leadership training to run interference for people who were in sales. And confirmed exactly that corporate America is already understanding that they can't continue to even do business the same, particularly for top tier leadership. So my invitation to you today, we're going to continue this conversation, and we're going to continue this conversation with others. Do you think that it would be valuable for you? Whether you are transitioning from a 9-to-5, whether you are a new entrepreneur and opening a business, whether you're getting your game plan, revisiting, you fell down, you're getting back up, whatever the case may be, you can do I wish I had a me. And to a degree I did. Let me be honest. When I transitioned from working full time, and I tell this in every seminar, I would say one more year. Let me get myself together one more year. When spirits say that, when y'all quote scriptures, your gift will make room for you. Yeah, your gift will make room for you, but sometimes that means that it's going to move something else out of the way that's occupying space for you to show up in what you're really desiring to do, to be, or to have. So even your next level sometimes it may look like chaos, but let me continue. You don't have to wait on somebody else's appraisal of you for you, or you don't have to wait till you're pushed off a job to get your mindset ready. Because one thing for sure, and two things for certain, when you stand in whatever it is that you're called to do, and it does not look like anybody who's done it before, one thing for true, two things for certain, it's going to be difficult moments. You're going to be tested. Entrepreneurship, I say that entrepreneurship is a rites of passage, but so is marriage. I say that your sensuality and your sexuality is a rites of passage, but so is motherhood. It's not just when you are called to ministry and you go to preach your first sermon that you are now ordained. No, you got ordained the moment that you got into agreement that you knew that there's something bigger in your life. But we get distracted along the way because we're looking at other people, comparing ourselves, wanting what they have, and that is out of order, particularly if you're coming from a Christian model where to covet somebody else, you are in violation with your own, the 10 commandments that you say you believe. But unto you as you believe, no matter where you are. If you believe in struggle, and how you know you believe in this struggle is that you talk in struggle. You join in conversations of struggle. It's unto you as you believe, and you get to be right about it, or you get to explore and take a leap into yourself and remove the blocks between you and your money right now, and not let it be because of COVID, and not let it be because of the layoff, and not let it be because you are divorced and somebody left you, not let it be because you don't trust yourself, but somebody else trusts you to pay you. You got to trust you to pay yourself. And if you want to do that, you don't always have to do it based on the grind, the hustle, and the struggle narrative. Will there be moments? Absolutely. I've had a moment almost every day of deep breaths, preparing for even the next level has made me have to come back to the foundation of the old level of when I started business, removing things, upgrading things. No, does it cost the same to get to me when I was a new coach? No, because what my 20 years of experience in the game is it can take 20 minutes for me to move you from blind spot to breakthrough. Yes, that's because that's what you're paying for. And you got to know, when I say pay yourself, we have to shift around the idea that I don't have money for me, to invest in me. Some of us are still too invested in DIYing it. Some of us are still too invested in how it looks before you really are in alignment with it. Still comparing, still wanting what that's in violation of money law. So when I ask you, how do you define it? What we have in money is my own natural yield, energy yield, but you're my student. I helped you to define that. I'm asking you, what is money for you? Not based off of what I'm teaching and what I've been taught. It is that. It's not the school book answer. I'm asking, what is you? Because if you in rebirth school, you might talk rebirth language, but how does it translate through your soul? How does it translate through the desires of your heart? How does it translate in your love relationships? How does it translate in when you're doing the work that you're called to do? So I call people to find that, even after you learn the universal language, to speak yours. You feel me? Yeah. Tony Williams said, my money is freedom. That's what it is for me. Point blank, simple. Money is convenience. Okay, come on now. Money is flow. Come on now. Yes, that's what I'm talking about for you. For you. You see what I'm saying? I can help you build from there, right there. Just 3 words. Money is. Money is. Work is. And I'm telling you, a problem solver. Come on now. Now, the universal teaching from that I have learned that became the foundation that I could build even understanding commerce is money is my own natural energy yield, right? So if money is flow, if money is convenience, and money is freedom, then is your yield in flow, in freedom? It is your yield experiencing the ease, the convenience, the effortless. Because what will happen is we'll keep on looking on the outside and never tap in to the part of us that is already defined as worthy, as worth. You are the money. So beyond just the money, How many decisions have you made about yourself when your bank account is low? I could tell you, I'm like, oh man, I'm effing up. Oh man, I must not want it. Oh man, not knowing that there are going to be days like this. There are going to be days when you're an entrepreneur. So there's a part of us also that needs to become more emotionally wealthy. Many of us already are operating from an empty cup and not satisfied in other areas of our life. And so much pressure is put on being quote unquote independent or performance or getting to some point, and we're never fully present in one. Money is my friend that conspires to allow me freedom. Come on, now you're talking from your soul, girl. I hear you. Money is my freedom. Money is flow. Money is resource to further my vision. Yes. Shanta says money is an energy. My definition of money is making it without stress or struggle. I believe it is a way to obtain wealth without a lack mindset. The employment mindset has to go. But I can tell you that many people are running business with the same employee mindset, because many times when we run, when we hide, remember I talked about that the last time I was on, when we're waiting to be saved, to find a solution outside, it's just an avoidance mechanism, a defense mechanism, a cover up for the work to have true relationship from the inside out. So I do want to invite you to join the 7-day mental wealth boot camp. I had said on my post, and this is the one that did not post, this was a sign from spirit. I typed stuff. I was telling the story of how brokenhearted I had been in business because I was giving so much away, and I'd hear myself on their platform, things that I would share, resources I would share. I would be heartbroken when I was struggling. I had people judge me because they saw me so big, and I'm bigger than what I was seeing myself. But instead of speaking into my life, and when I was looking for real solutions, I'm talking about, no matter how articulate I am, no matter how brilliant you may see a person, that doesn't mean you have the skills and the know-how to run a business or a ministry or to launch a product, because it does require resources. It does require access. And so to know certain things. Otherwise, you start where you are, and then it creates a longer pathway. And so I would be asking for help, and people would, because they saw me as strong, because they saw me as capable. Yes, complimented on one end, but it did not take away the fact that I was asking, how do I do this? And so many of us get stuck on the how, but we never start where it matters, in a place that's going to sustain us even once we get started. Because I assure you, once you get started, there are going to be more distractions and more things of your own mindset that's going to show up in your business. It will show up in your business. It will show up in the type of clients you attract. It will show up in how you run your business. I'll give you an example. There are people who talk about always getting chargebacks, right? I don't understand that. For 20 years, I haven't had that. And then when the one time that I did have it, it was from a soul that always has showed me signs. And so that one time, but most people will say, well, girl, you're going to have chargebacks. You need to get used to that. And you're not there, but especially when you appeal to a bigger crowd. It's a long story, but the point is, if you aren't used to it and you don't know that there are moments when you're going to have lucrative days, there are going to be seasons where it's coming in, but do you have a plan? Do you know how to reinvest? I didn't know those things, but baby, when I found out, and so now I'm sharing it. So this is a mindset boot camp. I had said that I was going to post it. Whoever saw it last night, because of the Facebook algorithm, that's who was supposed to see it. So I'm applying that same love today. Whoever sees this today is supposed to see it. I only have 5 slots for people to join this week's version of Make Money with Your Eyes Closed. Well, actually, that's the enrollment page, Make Money with Your Eyes Closed. and you can join in. I've loaded it with bonuses for you to work with me for 30 days in the business incubator that I have not been advertising to the public. I know that the tribe might feel some kind of way because they've gotten so close and so focused, but I haven't been advertising it to the public because the business incubator are really a lot of people who have done the work, the mindset work first. And so I don't have to spend time working with them on principles and mindset and that type of thing because they've done that part first, because that's usually how it had happened in people who invest in my higher level business packages, right? And I was already doing this. So now I'm breaking it out for those of you who is like you in your get ready or your reset or your rebirth of your business or the rebirth of your brand or the rebirth of your own mindset as it relates to your money. And so I've put together this package, and I'm inviting you to start in this package, do the 7-day boot camp, come into the business incubator for 30 days, complimentary. Then when you complete that, then we're going to do a whole strategy and plan in a special session. Oh yeah, honey. And then once you get into the new mindset and what it's really new mindset and new money. Once you get into that curriculum, you're going to have a couple of bonuses there. So the same rule applies. I will not be leaving this live up longer than 24 hours. It's only going to be for the first 5 people. If you want to be the first of the 5, and even if you need a payment plan, let me know, because there's something for those of you who may not be ready financially today, but you're going to be ready next week. Stop counting yourself out every time you hear offer. And stop getting mad at people. For a long time, I wouldn't come on Facebook and make you offers because because I want to work with people who want to work with me. And that's just not my sales strategy. That's not the way I do it. I work with attraction marketing. But what happens when I go to take a course or a class for someone who is a multimillionaire that's pulling up in Rolls Royces and all that shit that y'all get attracted to, and they do guerrilla marketing? I have done it so many times. And even for Black women coaches who look like me, who are just they are puppet. Oh, let me hush my mouth. But what I'm saying is they are trained so much in the Western way of the masculine, or a Western masculine who taught them how to do guerrilla marketing and how to just do the numbers, just put them in your funnel, just put them in your funnel. So it's really about quantity over quality. Tanya, you know I was getting ready to go there. So I've spent, it's not this. And then I used to say, well, damn, I invest in myself, but that's me. I've been investing in myself, just like when I told you all the day that I saw the road less traveled. Your spirituality and your business can mix. As a spiritual business owner, you have more of a responsibility to build from principle and foundations that will keep you sustained in profit and not deficit. You hear? I love you, and there's nothing you could do about it. And that is why I am opening this up for you to finish the last half better than you started the first half of 2021. If you'd like to know more about spiritpreneurs who win, let me know. You can come directly into the business incubator. Maybe you don't need to do the 7-day boot camp, and you don't have to do the package deal. Yes, there is a budget-friendly amount for you to come into the mastermind. Yes, it's open to you, especially those of spiritual consciousness, those who are ministers, those who are leaders, those who are creatives, those who you feel me? There's a space for you to win on your own terms and definition. Even if you're in school, even if you're getting a doctorate degree, even if you are bossing out the expert in your field and in your presence, you're doing it for them. Now, how can you do it for you? So come on in the room, because that's where it goes down, honey, in the room, not out here in these Facebook streets. Again, like I said, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Thank you so much for joining me in this short talk, and I am going to continue with the series really soon in August, but I'll be back. Ciao. Actually, I'm going to be forward. Remember that when you tell me, oh, you back? No, I'm forward. And so are you when you choose to be.